So next is the fixed reference group scoring system. So norms provide a context for interpreting the meaning of the test score. Another type of aid in providing a context for interpretation is termed a fixed reference group scoring system, in which here the distribution of scores obtained on the test from one group of test takers, referred to as the fixed reference group, is used as the basis for the calculation of tests and scores for the future administration of the test. So diri example ani is ang SAT or SAT in US, in which it is a multiple choice pencil and paper test gibuhat para i-administer sa college board, in which diri ang purpose ani is measure ang high school students' readiness sa college and provide colleges with one common data point that can be used to compare all the applicants. So diri ang scores na nakuha gikan sa group of test takers is mao ang gamiton nga basis para i-calculate ang mga maabutay pa na mga groups of test takers. So, let's proceed to norm reference versus criterion reference evaluation. One way to derive meaning from a test score is to evaluate the test scores in relation to other scores on the same test. As we have pointed out, this approach to evaluate is referred to as norm reference. So, it was explained already by Mayan. Another way to derive meaning from a test score is to evaluate it on the basis of whether or not some criterion has been met. We may define a criterion as a standard in which judgment or decisions may be used. So, criterion is that na dapat kay i-met nga wala siyang standard na kailangan nimo i-met para matagaan og judgment or na decision ang imuhang test score. So, kailangan nimo met ang every criteria na naa didtoa. So, criterion reference and testing assessments may be defined as a method of evaluation and a way of deriving meaning from test scores by evaluating an individual's scores with reference to a set standard. So, sa norm reference is ang test score nimo, ang evaluation sa imong test score is mga depende sa test score sa uban nga nagatake pod og same test. While diri as sa criterion reference testing and assessment is ang evaluation sa imong test scores is nagadepende sa criteria nga imuhang na met ug magadepende pod siya sa imuhang score sarili lang nimo, wala siya gibasean lain. So kailangan ma-met lang nimo tong mga criteria nga required ato. So the criterion in criterion reference assessment typically derives from the values or standard of individual organization. So some example of reference testing and assessment, criterion reference testing and assessment is to be eligible for a high school diploma, student must demonstrate at least 6th grade reading level. To earn privilege of driving an automobile, would-be drivers must take a road test and demonstrate their driving skills to the satisfaction of state-appointed examiner. So, katong nang mag-drive sa kaya, di ba, kailangan nimo naka-license. Dapat nakatake ka og pila ka hours na driving lessons para ma-considered ka as a licensed driver. So, criteria nga gimet. To be licensed as a psychologist, the applicant must achieve a score that meets or exceeds the score mandated by the state and the licensing test. So, to be called a psychologist, di ba, na dapat kay i-met na criteria gihapon. For example, dapat na kay PhD. You are di ba, na kay dapat mga i-met na mga standards. To conduct research using human subjects, many universities and other organizations requires researchers to successfully complete an online course that presents test takers with ethics-oriented information in a series of modules followed by a set of first choice questions. And for other examples, so another example, in order to earn a black belt in karate, so para maka-black belt ka sa taekwondo or karate, student must demonstrate the black belt level of proficiency in karate and meet related criteria such as those related self-discipline and focus. So, di ba, para maka black belt, kailangan ang imuhang mga moves ang mga moves nimo is karang appropriate pod sa level sa imuhang gusto na kanang position for example black belt. So, it takes a high taas og nindot nga skills or kanang nga skills kay para maano. So kailangan nimo to embed nga dapat howd kaani nga part para makuha kag black belt. So each student is evaluated individually to see if all those criteria are met regardless of the level of performance of all test takers. Only students who met all the criteria will be the dojo training room with a brand new black belt. So regardless man kung unsa among performance imong mga kauban, walay labot ang imuhang walay labot ang imuhang performance. Kay ang criterion reference testing assessment is sa imuha lang jud siya naka-focus sa imuhang performance. That's why ginatawag siya mastery test. So if ma-met nimo to ang mga criteria nga dapat nimo i-met is makuha pud nimo kung unsa ang imuhang gusto nga position. So, criterion reference testing and assessment goes by other names because the focus and criterion reference approach is on how scores relate to a particular content, area, or domain, and the approach has also been referred to as domain or content reference testings and assessment. In norm reference interpretations of test data, a usual area of focus is how an individual performed relative to other people who took the test. In criterion reference interpretations of test data, a usual area of focus is the test taker's performance. So, just like what I've said earlier, sa norm reference is that ang basis sa imong score is ang same test result sa uban nga imuhang nga same sa imuhang nag-take og test, while sa criterion is nag-base lang sa imuhang performance. Because criterion reference tests are frequently used to gauge achievement or mastery, they are sometimes referred to as mastery tests. Norm reference and criterion reference are two of many ways that test data may be viewed and interpreted. However, these terms are not mutually exclusive, and the use of one approach with a set of test data does not necessarily preclude the use of other approach for other applications. So, for a better understanding about the difference between norm reference versus criterion difference evaluations, so pwede ninyo i-visit ng links, just copy and paste lang sa inyong browser kay dako siya tabang. Mag-explain siya dito So, next is meet an assessment professional meet Dr. Steve Julius and Dr. Howard W. Atlas. So, kani sila ng mga doktor is that nag-ano sila kanang gamit nila ang psychology assessment or testing as in selection of their team, which is the Chicago Bulls. Mo ang ilang gigamit nga test in which ilahang gipatest ang every applicants na gusto mo appeal sa team, and dito the data was collected to allow for the validation of regression formula useful as a prediction tools in its own right. In addition to selection, the information collected on the athletes often is used to assisting the coaching staff in their efforts to motivate and instruct players as well as to create atmosphere of the collaborations. So, mo na ang gibuhat ni Dr. Steve Julius or Dr. Howard Atlas. Gigamit nila ang test to select the players in Chicago Bulls. So, let's go to the culture and inference. So, in selecting a test for user, the responsible test user does some advanced research on the test available norms to check on how appropriate they are for use with the targeted test taker populations. In interpreting data from psychological tests, it is frequently helpful to know about the culture of the test takers, including something about the era or times that the test takers experience. So, these are the do and do not. Culturally informed assessments, some do's and don'ts. So, for do, be aware of the cultural assumptions on which this test is based. Consider consulting with the members of particular cultural communities regarding the appropriateness of particular assessment techniques, tests, or test items. Strive to incorporate assessment methods that complements the worldview and lifestyles of assessees who comes from a specific cultural and linguistic population. Be knowledgeable about the many alternative tests or measurement procedures that may be used to fulfill the assessment objectives. Be aware of equivalence issues across cultures, including equivalence of language use and the constructs measure. Score, interpret, and analyze assessment data in its cultural context with due consideration of cultural hypotheses as possible explanation for findings. And for the don'ts, take for granted that test is based on assumptions that impact all groups in much the same way. Next, take for granted that members of all cultural communities will automatically deem particular techniques, tests, or test items appropriate for us. Next, take a one-size-fits-all view of assessment when it comes to evaluation of persons from various cultural and linguistic populations. Next, select tests or other tools of assessment with little or no regards for the extent to which such tools are appropriate for use with a particular assessee. Next, simply assume that a test that has been translated into another language is automatically equivalent in every way to the originals. Next, score, interpret, and analyze assessment in a cultural vacuum. So that ends our report, and for more informations, clarifications, and understandings, so visit the links that have been pinned on the notes, and take time to read the notes under our presentations. Thank you.